Welcome to this session by Intellipaat. My name is Anirudh, and in this session, we're going to check out the best way for you guys to get started with Python, especially if you're from a non-programming background. Well, guys, before we begin with the session, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so that you'll never miss any updates from us. Before we begin the session, I do have to tell you guys that we are streaming this live session across our YouTube channel and across a webinar as well. The webinar link will be given in the description box below, so make sure to join the webinar because at the end of the webinar, we'll have a senior course advisor standing by to answer all of your questions and guide you on the fastest way you guys can become experts in Python as well. Well, guys, so let's keep this session very interactive and let's just check out the agenda right now. So, to begin with, we'll check out a quick introduction to Python. After understanding that, we'll understand what Python programmers actually do and why should you even consider learning Python. See, after you've understood why Python is for you, then we'll always check out the top skills that's needed for you guys to become experts in Python. And of course, at the end of it, I'll give you a detailed guide through which you guys can learn Python. And at the end of it, as I just mentioned, we'll have a senior course advisor standing by on our webinar who's going to guide you on the most structured way you guys can work on becoming experts in Python. So without further ado, let's begin the class. Well, to start out with a quick introduction to Python. Well, what is Python, right? You might have heard of one of these statements which is absolutely true. So Python is one of the world's #1 programming language out there. And there's a reason for that, right? So it's an object-oriented, high-level programming language that is used to cater for a lot of domains. If you think about any domain in mind right now, right? Even the most vast ones. Think about architecture, think about medicine, think about artificial intelligence, think about big data, think about website designing, think about cybersecurity. See, wherever you think about, there is Python there in one way or another, and that's the beauty of Python in general. Its widespread usage has made it to be one of the world's #1 programming language. It is very easy for beginners to get started with, and at the same time, it is very, very powerful for you guys as well. Be it if you guys are doing this to start your career in Python, or if you guys are just enthusiasts looking to learn the language as well. Here are some of the beautiful Python facts that you might or might not know. I'm pretty sure you guys have used Mozilla Firefox, right? So Firefox has 230,000 lines of code that is actually written in Python that helps with the functionality of the browser itself. And then Microsoft actually promotes Python development with all that they can do with their most beautiful IDE, which is the Visual Studio Code, and that's an amazing IDE in my opinion. And then Netflix, do I even have to talk about Netflix, right guys? Because Netflix have told that they make extensive use of Python, especially for its data science requirements, and it's an amazing thing. Think about the terabytes worth of data Netflix keeps uploading and downloading and changing around in their particular system and architecture, and it's a bold statement to say we use Python for all of that. And then we have Uber. Uber says they make use of Jupyter notebooks and IPython to share all the data in between drivers and their host systems as well. It's not only just this. I just gave you the top 4 companies who make use of Python. There are thousands and thousands of people who use Python, as you'll see in a couple of slides from now. So the question you might have at this point of time, if you guys are non-programmers, is so who is a Python developer, and what can we learn about Python development, right? Let me put it out this way. A Python developer is a person, he or she is a programmer who writes varieties of programs and code, as we call it, to create applications at the end of the day. See, why do we create applications, right? See, you might be watching this on your phone, on your YouTube application, for example, or you might have multiple apps for shopping as well. So why do we have these apps that make our life very easy, right? It's very convenient for us to make use of applications to solve problems for us. See, a problem can be a simple thing. Now, here's a problem that I might have. I want to buy, waterproof shoes because it keeps raining here in Bangalore. So what do? I need a solution. The solution I would do is I would open an e-commerce site and, start punching waterproof shoes in and buying it. And if they give me the shoes and I buy the shoes, problem solved. exactly this scenario is going to fit in any problem that you can think of. So you opening the website itself was one part of a solution where Python was used, and probably in their ETL network somewhere Python was used. So Python is basically used everywhere. So we have these applications in place that Python developers write for us, and it's not just them writing the applications, but they need to have the capability to actually test their applications, right? See, you can create the most aesthetically pleasing and functional application out there, but at the end of the day, if it fails in one or two scenarios, that's going to add a bad mark, right? So it is very vital that a Python developer has the capability not only to write programs in Python, understand its syntax, but also test it and debug it too. So there's a lot of things that Python developers do, and it is very difficult to put it in a couple of slides because, as I told you, right, the domain, the reach of Python is so vast that it's very hard to put a pinpoint on what these guys do. But then there are many things that all of these guys do in common. See, for example, a Python developer will write reusable, efficient, and testable code. As I told you, you can write a program probably in 10 different ways, but then there will only be one or two ways which is very efficient on the machine, it's very efficient on the user who's programming, and of course at the end of the day, it's short in line, right? So let's say we have a program which is 100 lines of code, and there's another one which is 1000 lines of code, and both of them do the exact same thing. Now, if you were a person who would want to learn Python, and you know that it would do the same thing, would you still want to write 1000 lines of code? The answer is no, right? Exactly my point here. So they need to have the ability to reuse the components that Python provides and write efficient code. And it's not just efficient code. There is another part of code that we call as testable code. So what we mean by testable code is that it has to be test friendly. If your program is very, very complex, it makes testing complex. So to keep it easy on the testing side of it as well, that's very important. And then when we talk about designing low latency and high performing applications, see, sometimes you will require very low latency, right? Think about gaming, for example. And if you're wondering, yes, Python is used for gaming as well. We have a library called as Pygame, that's pretty much used for all that. Now, when you think about it, if you have a lot of lag, as we call it in the world of gaming, while you're actually gaming, it won't make sense, right? Your enemy can see you. Probably if it's an action game, he or she can shoot you and whatnot in the game. So we don't want that. So you have to have the capability to design low latency applications. And even though mobile phones or applications or PCs or whatever it is, even though they're very, very powerful today, it is your job as a Python developer to make sure your applications are highly performing, right? Make the best use of the hardware that you have, write the best software that you can, and eventually drive the application to its solution stage. It's not just this. A Python developer, if you are here, you might know that Python is very, very well regarded in the usage of data science, in the usage of machine learning, deep learning, artificial intelligence, and all of these concepts, right? To do all of that, a Python developer needs to have the ability to understand how data works. How can you bring in data into the organization, what we call as data ingestion? How can you work with it, use algorithms on it, transform the data, and eventually drive your solution through all of these processes, right? That's very important. And then it's not just that. If it's data that we are talking about, see, everyone is very, very concerned with security, right? Data security is prime in today's world, and a Python developer will know how to keep the data safe as well. This might not be the case for every single Python developer out there, but then if there is certain data that needs to have authorization to be accessed, then yes, data is very vital, and it is very important that it's kept in a safe and a secure way too. Now with this, you will have a question saying, alright, but why should I learn Python? Instead of giving you all of these numbers and confusing you, let me take it in a very simple way, right? See, all of these big guns, right? You have trillions of dollars worth of businesses on your screen right now. Facebook, Instagram, Amazon, Uber, all of these guys say Python is the go-to language, and they make full use out of it for their daily requirements as well. It's not just these guys, there's thousands of other companies, startups, mid-level companies, multinational companies, everyone who's seen what Python does. So if you're looking to build a career in Python, right, this is a beautiful time to do it, because at the end of your learning journey, you will have top jobs waiting for you. So that's a win-win in my opinion, right? And it's not just a theoretical concept as well. See, if it was a fact, it means the fact requires some proof, right? Well, the proof is in front of your screen right now. Python has grown somewhere from 2012 all the way till 2020, and it's growing in such an exponential way that it actually beat, Java, right? When you think about it, all of these searches that happens for Python or any other programming languages. Let me just go back to the previous slide. You can look at it better here. Java was the king of programming languages, as programmers would call it, but then came along Python to take the center stage, and it's been in the top for a while. And guess what? Experts say it's going to stay in the top for the next 10 years. Yes, they say 10 years. So from now till 2030, you guys should be good when you're learning the top programming language in today's world, right? So thinking about all the statistics, thinking about all the facts, knowing that your future is secure as a Python developer should be very important for you guys even before you begin your journey to know this, right? Because if something is trending, it means the world wants that. And if there is a demand, and if you can supply for that particular demand, it means you can make a lot of money in the process, learn a lot, solve a lot of problems, and of course, have that satisfaction of solving problems and working for the greater good as well. So one very important thing that we have to talk about Python is that it's a one-stop solution for everything. Do you want web development? Well, yes, we have a lot of libraries in Python. In fact, we have 250 plus libraries that are put into place to do a lot of things that you were supposed to do manually. So when you're thinking about web development, we have Django, and if you want to work with artificial intelligence, we have multiple frameworks and libraries for that. Do you want to work with data science, data analytics? Yes, you can do it in Python. Do you want to work with big data? Of course, we have PySpark with the Apache Foundation that you can do. Do you want to develop a game? We have Pygame. You can basically do a lot of things. If you guys are very curious after this session, just go to Google, type medicine and Python programming language, type architecture Python programming language. You'll realize that even though you might not see a direct connection, Python is working somewhere there, and it's adding a lot of value. In fact, even though it will not take center stage in those particular cases, right? Python has one amazing advantage is that when you talk about cross-language dynamics, right? See, Python can do a lot. Think about programming languages like C, Java, C++, JavaScript, Rust, .NET. These are again top programming languages, but then there is one particular reason Python is called the #1 language right now, and it's because it's very easy for beginners to get started with. And you might be wondering, okay, if I'm a beginner, it means that I can only write a hello world program or a basic for loop or something, right? Well, do not think that way, because with just a couple of weeks of structured training, you guys can actually start working on really big projects, and you will start understanding a lot of code, because Python's syntax is very much readable. If you can read the English language, you can read Python's syntax, or at least most of it, and that definitely works. And I've asked a lot of non-programmers this by showing them syntax and asking them to guess what it means, and guess what, 9 on 10 of them actually could guess what the program was doing, even though they have nothing to do with programming language or they've never used a programming language before. So in that particular case, the Python advantage is highly unbeatable in my opinion. So the next question you might have is, okay, what are the top skills of a Python enthusiast, of a person who's willing to make a career in Python, or of a person who's very interested in developing themselves and seeing what Python does for them as well? Well, let me give you the top skills that's required for a Python enthusiast. See, the first skill that you will require and that you have to work on is problem solving. As I told you, any IT concept that is present in today's world, right? Whatever IT concept that you can think of, it's there because the world has a problem and it can use computers to solve it. That's the problem. That's the solution of IT, right? So you need to have the drive to actually solve problems. You need to have the passion to understand, hey, here is a problem. Can I use Python to solve it? That's the question you should ask. And if you can ask that question a lot and eventually work your way to finding the answer, let me tell you, you already have a top skill to become a Python developer. And the second thing is have a goal-based approach. As I told you, Python is vastly used in n number of domains, right? Python is used in aircraft computers. Python is used in the world of medicine. Python is used to train the state-of-the-art artificial intelligence models that we have today. It's used in neural networks. It's used everywhere. So understand how you want to build your career, right? At this stage, if you're a non-programmer or if you're jumping from another domain, you might not have the clarity that's required to sit and analyze where you want to go. But then since Python offers you multiple pathways to go to, it will make it very easy for you guys to see what fits for you, right? And then work on that, right? So you have a lot of libraries, as I just mentioned. If you have a problem, here's a common saying in Python: we developers say that we have a library to fix it for you. So in that particular case, it's a big statement to make, and guess what, it holds true, because no matter what domain you talk about, what problem you talk about, there might be a library that will ease up 90% of the hard tasks that you're supposed to do. So if you have a goal-based approach, you have the second top skill that's needed for a Python enthusiast. And the third thing we have to talk about is your coding capability. See, I understand that you guys might not have programmed before, if you guys might have not been into coding before, or the last time you might have done it was somewhere in school. So that's completely understandable. We have something called as pseudocoding. See, pseudocoding is when you start writing programs completely in the English language, right? So if you have a problem, so let's say you want to write a program to print the Fibonacci series. So to print the Fibonacci series, if you can work a little bit of math into it, if you can use the English language to write down a logic for that, this is what we call as pseudocode. So pseudocode is basically used to denote the logic of the program in not a programming syntax context. But then after this, what you will do is you will take this logic, you will write it in Python, you will make sure that Python will understand it, and you're done. You solved a problem. That's as simple as that, right? So having the capability to write down the logic for a program in a pseudocode is important. Third thing is version control. See, it's not just that you sit one day, now that you're a professional Python developer, that you will sit in the morning, finish an application by the evening, and you're done with it forever. That will absolutely never happen in most of the production environments. So what you will require is version controlling. The first program that you write, you might have created an application. It'll be version 1.0. Next, you'll have version 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 3.1, etc. Whatever it is. So you will be working on a variety of versions, and to understand version control, to go on to do this is very, very important. You have tools like Git, that'll handle version controlling very easily as well. But then to do all of that, to handle your continuous integration and deployment requirements as well, version controlling is very, very important. And the next set of skills that we have to talk about is your ability to perform in a team. See, even though you might start working in a startup, let's say, or it might be a college project, it might be a huge MNC, there is a very good chance that the problem in a production environment is pretty big, and you'll not be the only person sitting there and working, right? So to work with a team, you need to have certain set of skills that that you're friendly. Let's say you have to be open to learning. Sometimes you have to teach. Sometimes you have to solve each other's problems. Sometimes you have to work together in all terms as well. So in that particular case, having the ability to know and understand that you will have to work as a team to achieve the target is very, very important. So have team working ability, you will have a top skill to become a Python developer. And next, of course, out of the box thinking. See, we have billions of people across the globe. If one person has a problem, what's the probability of billions of people solving it, right? It's a lot. So when a company or a client comes to you with a problem, you need to have the capability to approach it in multiple ways and understand, first of all, that one problem can have multiple solutions, especially in the world of programming. So after knowing that, it is very vital that you see other ways on how you can effectively solve it. Because if you're doing it the same way that everyone else is doing, yes, you're a Python developer, but are you a great Python developer? The answer is no. That's the difference between a good Python developer and a great Python developer. Having this out-of-box thinking is very, very important. So now, coming to the most important part of our session, it's the steps to learn Python. So what is the most structured way you guys can work on learning Python? Well, let me guide you. Start with mastering the basics of Python, guys. It is very important that you understand all the foundational concepts of Python, because once you start building upon these concepts, how strong are your basics? That's going to come into the question, not just for your learning, but even for your interview, for your career, for you working in a company, and a lot more. So you having the capability to know that your learning is good enough, that your foundational concepts of Python is good, then yes, you have conquered step number 1. Because if you do not work on understanding the basics, be it the syntax, be it how object-oriented program works, understanding the syntax of Python, there's a lot of things, right? You have to understand how the looping constructs work. You have to understand how the if-else blocks work. Understanding exceptions, understanding a lot of things here will only do nothing but help you in the next couple of steps, right? That's the only thing I can say. And I'm sure if you guys are here, you know that starting right from the basics of Python, a beginner's video, for example, is a great way to get started with Python. And the second thing is data structures. Well, for all of you guys who have not heard of data structures, it's basically ways through which we can store data in a structured way and handle it. Now, in this particular regard, everyone gets a little scared when we talk about data structures, because it's a pretty complex thing, and in the interviews it's a favorite, right? There's a lot of interviews where you will be asked a lot about data structures too. So if you master data structures at this point in time, understand how arrays work, understand how lists work, understand how dictionaries and sets and all of these data structures work, because each of these have subtle differences that lie in between them, how they work, where they're used, why they're used in the places that they're actually used, and a lot more. If you can answer these questions, you will have the upper hand over others in your career as well, because at the end of it, having the basic knowledge of how data structures work is very important, and I thought it has to be step number 2 to help you guys out here. And step number 3 is, of course, you have to plan for your go-to domain. As I told you, Python, has a lot of domains. So having your clarity on sitting and thinking about, where I should go, what I should do. Do you want to go in the gaming industry and do you want to use Python? Do you want to go into the world of data science and data analytics to use Python? Do you want to become a person who's going to be an expert in artificial intelligence? Well, yes, you can do that. Do you want to go into deep learning? Do you want to do a lot of other things as well? So Python can do a lot, but having the clarity for you guys to know where you're supposed to go is a very important step number 3. Step number 4. It's very important that you know that by now you should have your Python foundational concepts ready, and then what you can do is you can start solving coding challenges. See, with coding challenges, you can start with a very simple one. For example, start printing your first name, last name, and then have another print statement that will join both of these. Start out very easily. There are websites just Kaggle, for example, who will give you a lot of programming challenges, from the most simple ones to the very complex ones as well. So Kaggle is a really good place to actually meet other developers, to actually go on to work with your coding problems and understand someone else's syntax as well. See, as a Python programmer, if you can understand your syntax, well, there's a very good chance you can understand someone else's syntax for your particular skill set too, right? So start looking into someone else's syntax, see how they've approached the problem, see how they've solved the problem itself, and see why they've done it the way they did. And then out of the box thinking, see if you can do it better, and if you can, of course, talk to the person, implement it, show, compare. The world of Python programming will welcome you with open arms, if you're willing to contribute using Python, because Python has changed how the world of IT works, and it's a really good thing to, of course, have new guys in our community as well. So work on coding challenges. After you learn the theoretical concepts, start practically applying them. Yes, you will begin very slowly with beginner challenges, then you're going to work on intermediate challenges, advanced challenges, but then you will get there, right? Rome was not built in a day, and your Python programming career can be built pretty quickly if you guys are ready to put in the time and the effort that's required. And then one important point that we have to talk about in the next step is you venturing into new domains. See, you will get comfortable with what you're doing probably as your job as a Python developer in your particular domain. You might be adding a lot of value using Python, but what's very important when you're learning a programming language like Python is that you need to understand you have to venture into new domains. Start understanding someone else's code, which is probably beyond your league of understanding as well, right? So let's say you're a person who's probably designing games with Python using Pygame, and now you just want to understand what artificial intelligence is and what the Python code for that is and all of that, right? So in that particular case, yes, do it. Have some spare time, have the interest first of all to understand the language to its entirety, because it's pretty rewarding if you know Python in and out. A lot of companies, regardless of where you are, will hire you to solve their problems as well. So venture into new domains, learn new things, always keep learning. That's the motto, and that should be the same case with Python as well. And then, of course, connect with like-minded people. Join Python groups, join Python communities across the world. In fact, we ourselves have an Intellipaat community that you can check out. Make sure to check it out after this particular video. So talking to like-minded people, you both or 2-3 people or hundreds of people can solve one problem in 100 different ways. Compare it, understand why the person did it that way, see what approaches that you can take. You will learn so much by doing this. You'll only thank yourself probably 1 or 2 years later, knowing that you collaborated with a lot of like-minded people, right? You might strike an idea while doing this. You might open your own startup that can pretty much be funded in the millions of dollars range as well. So it's very important to connect with like-minded people. And it's not just that, start innovating. See, if you're solving a problem that someone else has already solved in a very good way, yes, it's good on your skills, but then you giving back to the industry is important, right? So innovate with your new skills. Understand that, if you know the Python programming language, it's a pretty powerful thing to have in your bag. And whenever you can use it, well, of course, you will be driving a lot of businesses to success too. And all of this is not just theoretical statements. Talk to people, right? Talk to Python developers. There's hundreds of thousands of developers out there who will tell you the exact same thing that I'm telling too. So always innovate, find new things to do, find new problems, find new ways to solve it, and you'll be on your way to become expert Python developers. So with this, I'm sure you guys are curious about the Python programmer or the Python developer salary as well, right? Well, let me tell you, the numbers are pretty attractive. In the USA, we have an average salary of $123,000 per annum. In India, it's 13 lakhs per annum, and the salary in the UK is 71,000 pounds per annum as well. So when you're looking at these numbers, half of you might be thinking, hey, is this achievable by me? Let me tell you, the answer is yes. If you know the right stuff in Python, if you are trained and if you have a structured understanding of how Python works, then of course, as I just told you previously, there are people across the globe, especially now in the world of remote working. You can get a job role halfway across the world and you can be making a good amount of money as well. You can be helping a lot of clients, and at the end of the day, it's a very lucrative career, and you can get pretty rich pretty quick if you're a Python developer as well. But then know that it's not just for the money, it's just that you will be very creative at solving problems. That's a very important thing about a Python developer. So what are some of the Python jobs that's hiring today? Well, let me fill up your entire screen, because there is never a stop in the requirement for Python developers, because everyone wants a Python developer in one way or another, be it a fresher job, be it an intermediate job, or someone who's experienced, right? So all these people are on your screen, and hundreds of others, right? I can say thousands of others as well. All of these guys are hiring for Python developers most of the time. I can say 90% of the time, and it's true. So if you're thinking about your career prospects, and if you guys are very serious about building your career in Python, understand that at the end of your journey, there is a good number of jobs that's waiting for you as well. It's not like you put in a lot of time and effort to learn and you don't get a job. That happens in 1 or 2 IT concepts that we understand. But at the end of the day, that will never happen in Python, because there is always a demand for Python developers across the globe. So to wrap up the session, here are my final thoughts, right? See, what is computer programming all about? Controlling complexity is the essence of computer programming, right? We're going to make use of the Python programming language, and instead of creating complexity using Python, what we do is we take a complex problem, we simplify it using Python and give out a solution. So this is an amazing code by a person called as Brian Kernighan, and I absolutely love it. Controlling complexity is the essence of computer programming. And of course, you have to understand that it's one of the world's most preferred programming languages. It is trending right now. It is forecasted to be trending for the next 10 years as well. It's a billion-dollar market industry. A lot of trillion-dollar companies have invested a lot of money into Python as well, and that speaks volumes for the programming language, right? It's an open source programming language. You don't have to pay to use Python. It's free to use. So what are you guys waiting for? Just get started and you guys will become experts in Python in no time. So to work on your way to becoming experts, what can you do? Well, let me tell you this, an investment in knowledge always pays the best interest, right? This is a beautiful quote by Benjamin Franklin, and I absolutely love it. You can put your money in a lot of places, but the most value that you will get is when you invest it on yourself, right? So to do that, Intellipaat is here to help you guys become experts in a lot of concepts. For example, we have a lot of free content as well. When you can think about it, we have a comprehensively put together YouTube channel where we have experts who teach day in and day out on the channel as well. If you're much of a blog reader, we do have Intellipaat blogs that you can use. We have experts again punching out very good blogs where you can use to learn and understand a lot of new things as well. And as I just mentioned in the previous couple of slides, we have the Intellipaat community where we welcome everyone with open arms. If you're a beginner, if you're an experienced person, just come there, talk to a lot of people, ask your basic question. Even if you're stuck with something such as printf hello world, come to Intellipaat community, get on our website, ask this question. You will have 10 people answering your question, right? So they are willing to help if you're willing to ask. So make sure to work on your way to become experts.